Hey guys, today we're going to do some front brakes on a Honda Civic. I believe this is an 02 Honda Civic. They're pretty similar a lot of the years, front disc brakes. So let's take a look at what we got and I'll show you how we do it. She is new to us. We just fixed her up. She had a little front end damage, so we put some new body parts on there, painted her, and now we are going to go through the mechanical stuff. So first thing we're going to do here is we got it jacked up, obviously. We got our jack stands underneath because that's really important, and we will put a block underneath the rear tire there. And then we're going to pull the front wheels off. So let's work on that. All right, so first we're going to pull the wheel off. This is 19 millimeter. There we go. There we go. Yeah. I always use the back of my foot. Break it free. That's the easy way. Okay, so we got the wheel off. Next, we are going to remove the caliper. I believe it's two 12 millimeter bolts. You have one right here, and then you have another one right here. Those are like bolts and pins, so I'll show you when we take it out. There's a pin that goes through here, and you'll have to hang on to this so it doesn't spin on the way out, but let's get that going. Okay, so you do this, and like I said, this thing will spin sometimes. You just hold it with your hand, or if it's rusted, you can put some pliers on there, but I could use some air tools, but I don't know, I'm too lazy to go to the toolbox and grab it. So here we go. Okay, I lied, there's no pin on this one, it's just a bolt. Different car. Anyway, one there, and now we're gonna grab the bottom one out. Okay. And there's the other one for the bottom. So I'm gonna pop those out, and we are probably going to, well, maybe it'll come out by hand. Here it goes. So here comes your caliper. Just pops right out like that. And important, you don't want to drop this because it's just hanging on the brake hose. So we're gonna put this over here to stay right there. Okay. Now there's a bracket in your brake shoes. Let me see if you can see. I think I have to back it up a little bit here. All right, let me reposition that. So here's the brake shoes. They're gonna come out here. You can usually just take them right out. So they got a little bit of life left on them. They're not terrible, but they're not great. Same thing here. Let's see if we can get these out. All right. Inner and outer pads are different. So, you know, sometimes if you're not 100% familiar with stuff, when you put them on the ground, just put like, you know, inner, outer, so you know kind of where they go. And then next, we're going to remove this bracket because you need to take the bracket off so you can get the rotor out. Okay, sorry, I had to move the camera because I need to actually come over to this side and do this. So we use a little leverage on these. These are bigger bolts, so it's a 17 millimeter. You want to get these on there, and then you gotta get that there. And this one here, there's two. Make sure your socket's on straight. Okay, go down. And then I use a smaller one just to move it faster. Like I said, these cars are really not complicated to do the front brakes on. Any pretty basic DIYer can do this. As long as you don't have any problems with calipers, and there's your bolt for that one, or, you know, broken bleeders or stuff like that, you really don't need any special tools. Get to that. So here's your bracket. Like I said, you're going to take that out. You're going to clean this up. There are little metal clips in here, and they do come with new ones with your brake shoes. As you can see that, little metal clips, but we'll go over that also. So, and again, just, you know, when you take stuff off, just put them down in order, you know, so you know, there's the caliper, there's the inner, there's the outer, and that's how that goes. So now that we have that off, let's see if we can get back here. Sorry, the shardy camera work. And that's just where that bolted to there. So now we are going to remove the rotor right here. There are 2 bolts here that we're going to take out. They usually come out pretty good. Sometimes you need to tap them a little bit. Let's see how hard they are. Now the caliper is so much better if you could just get it out of the way. I use just a piece of wire to tie it up there so it is out of my way so I can do this. Like I said, you don't want to pull on these hoses. The hose himself look pretty good. You need to visually just look at them. You'll see there'll be like dry rot cracks in them. You know, these, they probably could be replaced, but we're not going to do it right now because they don't seem to be leaking and the lines all look pretty good. So we're going to let that go at the moment. As long as our calipers are operational and working fine, we'll get into that in a little bit. So now let's work on getting this rotor off. Okay, now there's a few different ways to get these off depending on the situation. Sometimes they're stuck on there, sometimes they're not. I always start with just kind of a decent sized hammer, and I will just tap 1, you know, 2, try not to hit the studs, kind of just loosen it up a little bit. And then I'll take this, it's a number 3 Phillips. I don't know if you're familiar, it's like 1, 2, and 3 on the Phillips. So number 3 Phillips, nothing special. Just put them on there, kind of tap a little bit just to loosen up the rust, and then see if, all right, that one moved out pretty easy. And then let's see, yep, that one moved out pretty easy. And I don't know if you can see that, look at, they're loose, they're not stuck on there. So if they are stuck on there, there's a couple different ways to get them off. Obviously you take these 2 screws out, that's number 1. So if the screws come out, that's a bonus, you get those out. If the rotor still doesn't come out, like I said, take a big hammer and don't kill it. Just tap around the thing like that, and 9 out of 10 times the rotor will just come off. Okay, if that doesn't work, then there are 2 holes here that are threaded, and you actually just screw a bolt in there, and those will work like a press back and forth, and they'll pull the rotor out. We didn't have to do that, so I'm not going to show it to you, but here it goes. Look at that, nice and easy. You know, these have some wear, they're not terrible, but we're going to clean it up. Okay, so we got that out there. I usually tap, take a little hammer, just kind of tap around. These backing plates are pretty good. Sometimes they rust out. Just kind of tap, 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 knock the rust off. Make sure it's good. And then if you have a compressor, bonus. Just clean up the excess junk. All right, so we have our new rotors here. Obviously, first thing you want to do is make sure that they match up and that they are the right part. That's number 1. They are the right part. So number 2 is now we're going to take some BRAKLEEN, which is basically just a cleaner. It's a spray cleaner, and we're going to clean whatever oil, because they put oil on these to for shipping so they don't rust. So we're going to clean the oil off, and we're going to put the rotor back on. All right, so then here you go, brake cleaner. Get it in the auto parts store. It's nothing crazy. We just do that, and then we spray down the router. Boom, 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 just like that. Nothing crazy. I use paper towels. Use whatever you want, and we just wipe them off, just like that. So it's nice and clean. Get the oil off. Nothing fancy. And then we're gonna put these back on just like that, and we will put these small screws back in. All right, so you get your rotor on, and then you're gonna take your two small screws, put it back in. This is what I use, anti-seize. They sell it in little small tubes. You can use grease, you know, some people like to argue that, but a little bit of grease will work too. I just put that on there so the stuff doesn't rust or freeze up later. Or you could not, I don't care. It's your car, you do whatever you want. Makes no difference to me. You don't need a lot of this stuff at all. It gets everywhere. It's just something to do with the law of anti-seize. I don't know why. I'm talking nonsense. Somehow, no matter what you do, it'll just get all over your fingers. We'll put that back in there. Nice and easy. Let's find the other one. There it is. Here it is. Here it is. I don't know why it's so difficult today. There it goes. All right. So there you go, guys. You just put the rotor back on, put your anti-seize on there. You could also put a couple spots of anti-seize between the hub and the rotor also. That's up to you. You don't have to do it, but sometimes it's nice. Put those back on. There you go. We're back in business. Check your backing plates. Sometimes they can bend a little bit too. I would just probably get a better screwdriver and I'll bend that out of the way a little. All right, like I said, so the backing plate, they're kind of flimsy, so I would just take a flathead screwdriver, just kind of bend that back a little bit, just so it's out of the way, because you don't want it to scrape. Don't need any noises. All right, next we are going to get the brake pads out and check them out. Okay, guys, so we have the rotor on there. It's secure. It's ready to go. Next thing we're going to do is we have our brake pads checked, but we have to collapse the calipers. So there are several ways to do this. There's a lot of different little fancy tools. There's a lot of different tricks. Everybody has a better way to do things. I just take one of the old brake pads. That's how I do it. I put one on there just like that. I have one of these fancy dancy little clamps. Nothing fancy about it, just a basic little clamp. I'm gonna put it on there just like that. We're gonna tighten this down, just like that. Now, I don't know if you can see, hopefully you can see this. So you just put it on there and you slowly just compress the caliper back in. You don't force it, you let it go. It's a hydraulic thing. You probably should open the brake reservoir. I'll do that before I go to the other side, but yeah, you're just gonna push this down. Like I said, don't force it. If you have to force it, that's telling you there's something wrong with the caliper. So you just nice and easy squeeze that, and you can see as it's pushing that cylinder down, and then it'll just stop, and you're good to go. Take this off, take your old brake pad off. There you go. Now, as you can see, it is collapsed because what happens is they close as the rotors wear down. So now you need to open it back up because you're putting a fatter rotor on there. So, and you're putting bigger brake pads on. So that's how you do that. Next, we're going to install the bracket back on, and then we will put our brake pads in. Okay, so here's your new parts. Now, some cars are different than others, obviously. This particular car on the Hondas, all of these little clips are the same. All 4 clips are the same. The brake pads are different. You have inner and outer. Obviously, this one has this big squeaker on here. That wears down. It rubs on the rotor, and that's how it makes the squeaking noise, telling you you need new brakes. And then there's this pad. So clearly you can see the difference between the two pads. Excuse my reach. Here's the old pad. Here's the new pad. You can see the thickness difference between, you know, a new one, old one. These are really not that bad. There's still some brake left on them compared to sometimes you see these crazy videos. But anyway, just so you can tell the difference, and that's another reason why you have to squeeze that caliper to make more room for these. So you take that, you're done with the old pad now. We're gonna take this bracket here and we are going to remove these clips from the old caliper. These are your new ones here. You'll see them there. They're pretty similar. So you're gonna take those off, get them out of the way, because we're done with those. Those hold your brake pads in and hopefully stops them from wiggling around. You don't want that to happen. Now we're gonna take a little wheel and we're gonna clean these areas up here. We're gonna put some anti-seize or some grease on there too. I use just a basic wire brush. You don't need anything fancy. Like I said, just helps clean it up. Makes it look a little bit better there. The rust. You want to make it as easy as possible when you reassemble the brakes. So you just make sure all these little grooves and things are cleaned out. Like that, nice and easy. Same thing like where these bolts go. Just, you know, if there's a little lip of rust or something, just clean it off, because by doing that, you're going to eliminate anything being difficult to put back together. That's that, nice and clean. You got threads in here, or if you can't see that, there we go. You got threads in here and threads in here for those bolts. So you want to make sure that those are clean and that you put either some grease or maybe a drop of anti-seize in there. That's usually what I use. Then put your new clip in there. So actually I'm going to take that off and put some grease behind it, because that's how I do it. So I just take some anti-seize. I put it in here and then in here and here and here. Just a little bit. You can use grease, you could use nothing. I really don't care. And that's how I do that. Put that in there. And then I take a little clip and we'll reinstall that back in. You just pop your new clips back in there, just like that. Just like that. You make sure they're pushed in all the way and nice and secure. They clip right onto the little bracket there. You'll see, okay? I'll put the anti-seize in these threads when I'm done, so they don't get all over my hand. Easier, I that on, and then I turn the wheel out like this, you see? The wheel's down there, Sky. I turn the wheel out over there like that, just to make it easier. So now this way, it just turns it out. Just a little trick to make things easier for you. Now we're gonna reinstall this with our brake pads. Okay, everyone does this a little different too. This is how I do it. I put the bracket back on just loose. I put the 2 bolts in there with the anti-seize. And then I pop the inner pad in and then the outer pad. Same thing, they sit inside those little pieces. You can put some grease in those clips where the brake pad touches the clip. I know, stop saying it and just show me, right? So everyone has a different way of doing this. This is how I do it. This is how I've done it my entire life. So if you have a different way to do it, then you probably shouldn't be watching this video, because then you're obviously someone who knows how to do this. This is more for the beginners. But anyway, I put some anti-seize there and some there. That's how I do it. And I put it right in here just like that. Slide it in there just like that. And that's how Kelly does it. Adds in there, we have this. So I'm just gonna tighten this up. This is the bracket, not the caliper yet. These are your 17s. And yes, I put anti-seize on those also. So we're gonna snug those up. Like I said, just snug them up. You don't need to over tighten those right yet. Just get them in there. Make sure it's even. You're on there good. Once you're even, then use the bigger wrench with some leverage. You don't need to go crazy. There's probably a torque specification for this. Let me see. Yep, I think that's it. Did you hear it click? Yep, there it goes. 1, 2. Okay, that's a little sarcasm for anyone who may not have understood that. We'll come back to that. Okay, so now we're gonna take our caliper down and we're gonna reinstall that. They also, sometimes the new brake pads actually come with it. It's like a little silicone grease stuff. You can put it on the back of the pads right here too. That helps with squeaking or with the pads wobbling around. It's your choice if you want to. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. All right, now, again, we squeeze this caliper open, so hopefully we'll have plenty of room to get in here. It is pretty tight. Now these push in here, so you're going to push that in like that, and same thing on the bottom. I should get that down there. Okay, there it goes. You're going to finagle that around. All right, so the caliper is pretty much back into the position that we need it to be. We're going to get the other bolts. Where are they? Sometimes I like to line these up first before we put grease all over them, because sometimes you have to finagle with them to get them in the right spot. See how it's not grabbing. All right, we got the bottom one. All right, now it's in the right spot. I'll put some anti-seize on here too. And then that way, that's your caliper bolt. It's in the right spot already. That's how I like to do that, because sometimes the anti-seize gets all over your hands, which is not a big deal, but why make a mess if you don't need to, right? You put those on. Now, like I said, it's already lined up, so you know it's in the right spot. And you're gonna put those on there like that. Hand tight first. Then we're gonna get our 12mm back out. You don't need a big ratchet for this. And then, you know, hand tight, hand tight. This is a good way to do that too. Don't put any leverage on it. Just grab it like this. You can just, you know, hand tight. Hand tight. That way you know you're getting it even without forcing it. All right, now that you got them even, you just put a little leverage on there. Same thing right here. They're small bolts, don't break them. And then you're good to go. Obviously we want to take our wire. A piece of coat hanger, something like that works really good. This is electrical wire, works great, and that, folks, is basically how you do brakes. Like I said, always check your lines, make sure that they're not cracked or rusted. And can you come over here a little closer? Over here is a bleeder, screw right here. So that way, if you do have to replace these, so you got to make sure that those, but we're not going to have to bleed this time because we're not replacing the calipers. All right, folks, so that's it. Like I said, we covered the rotor, how to get that on, how to secure it back on there. We did the caliper, we did the bracket. Again, like I said, check your lines, make sure they're good. Everything seems to be good. It's moving. So now, when we bring this car back down, we will double check, because sometimes when the calipers have been on for a very long time, they get some rust and they could freeze in the closed or open position. So you have to make sure before you ruin your rotors that the car has free play in that the rotor's release. So when you press the brake, it will squeeze the calipers, and when you let go of the brake, it will let go. So that way you know your caliper is working properly. That's kind of a whole nother video, but anyway, you should double check it when you're changing out your brake pads. And then always eyeball, you know. I've seen this 100 times where people actually put the brake pads on the wrong way, because you can put the brake pad on the wrong way. This side of the brake is against the rotor. Check it out. Look at it. Okay, it is against the rotor. It's the right way. Because if you put it backwards, which you can, it'll go this way, and then you'll have metal on metal. So make sure it's on the right way, guys. With that being said, that is pretty much how easy it is to change the front brakes yourself, especially on a Honda Civic. These are great vehicles. There are no special tools required. Even the clamp that I used, you can get them really cheap. It's not like a special item. Or you could use a pair of channel locks and just squeeze that caliper back in. But if you have any questions or comments, nice comments, leave them down below. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you so much. It is 4th of July today, so peace and happy 4th of July, everybody. Bye.